Nation, Harry here, back with Ken Dwight out of Houston, Texas. Ken, hello.
Right.
Hey, listen, I want to double click down into something you suggested or you're doing on vendor cooperation, vendor bundles, vendors working with the community. So what's going on with the Virus Doctor in your community, and how you're working with vendors more closely?
Okay. Well, as you know, my community is made up of people that have taken and completed my workshop, which was
Yeah.
originally called the Virus Remediation Training Workshop. And this year I've rebranded it. It's now the Malware Incident Response Training Workshop. But one of the things that I realized probably 5 or 6 years ago, I actually got a call from a vendor saying, hey, we like what you're doing. We've got an anti-malware product. We'd like to support you. And so anybody that completes your training, we'll give them a free copy of our software to learn more about us and potentially resell. And I thought, well, that sounds like a good idea. And so shortly after that, I was talking to another vendor and mentioned that this one had made a special offer for my graduates, and would they like to do the same thing? And I said, sure. And so one thing led to another, and it got my whole thought process going on the fact that there are a lot of us whose client or prospects are in that MSP or break fix or consultant arena that are not competing with each other at all. We've got, in most cases, complementary products or things that any of our clients would benefit from knowing about. And so at that point, again, this goes back probably 5 or 6 years ago now, I made a deliberate effort to make more of those relationships, get more of those special offers. And the tuition for my workshop is $495. And so my goal was to get enough free offers to match or exceed that $495 figure.
Yep.
And frankly, that wasn't that hard to do. I ended up with a little over $600 worth of free stuff. And I'm not talking about junk software like you get on a Best Buy PC, but the things that they would really use or be able to resell or help their business. And it kind of stayed there for the last few years. And in the last year or so, I've kind of dusted it off and thought, well, I haven't been in contact with some of these vendors. I need to be sure they're still out there, they're still interested, the offer's still good, or whatever. And there are other vendors that I've developed good working relationships with over the last few years that I haven't approached about doing anything special. And so in the last few weeks, I won't say aggressively, but I have more energetically reached out to some of those vendors and told them what I'm doing and would you be interested? And long story short, I don't have the whole list right in front of me, but there are 13 separate vendors now who have said, yeah, we're in. And some of them have multiple products. I think it's actually 18 or 19 products between those 13 vendors. And the value of that is over $1,700. So not bad for a $495 workshop investment.
Yeah, and I like it. I mean, yeah, there's clearly it pays to take your class and complete the courseware and it be part of your system. It brings back a memory, and I'm probably not going to be able to go to one of the product boxes. Well, yeah, I am. Some days you get lucky. Hang on, as I drop things. But back in the old days with Small Business Server 4.5, so the late 90s, and this is an important part of the storytelling, is as you know, I was an insider out in Redmond, blah, 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 long story, but we were bundling, I call it informally because you have Microsoft Legal and they're kind of tough to deal with, but informal bundles with Trend Micro antivirus and Veritas backup exec. And they both had Small Business Server SKUs. And the idea was that you could get, now in that case, you got like a 30-day trial version or something. So it wasn't the full, what we call FPP or fully packaged product, right? It was more of the sample, but it let you test it out. And the point was, is it filled some gaps. So Small Business Server didn't have the antivirus protection. And then the backup was Windows NT backup, which was not sufficient for grandfather, father, child scenarios and, and so on. So point is, I'm really big on bundles. offers and incentives. And I applaud that you've taken the initiative to do that. You know, Ken, we don't, you know, maybe I'm in a different crowd. We don't see as much of that anymore, right? You don't see those bundles coming out in conjunction with Microsoft. They've changed. Maybe I've changed. But sir, I appreciate you sharing that story. It brings back a lot of memories, and it's nice to see. And you're clearly adding value to your to quote unquote your community membership.
Well, I appreciate that. And of course, the other thing is that no matter how much money you spend on marketing and advertising and promotion, you're not going to hit everybody. And so out of those 13 vendors and my 500 and some graduates, I'm sure that most of those graduates have never heard of some of those vendors or their products.
Yeah.
And so, and some of them, in fact, my monthly webinar is coming out tomorrow, and Mike Simmel is the speaker.
Oh, good.
Of course, Mike is kind of an industry superstar, been around for a long time. He gets a lot of visibility, and I'll bet that a lot of my graduates have never heard of him and don't know about. He's going to be talking about the NIST cybersecurity framework.
Yeah.
And there again, I'm sure some of my graduates don't even know what that is. Never heard of it. As it happens, one of my graduates actually works at NIST. He took class back in 2013.
Yeah.
So
even better.
So much opportunity for sharing the wisdom, the knowledge, the contacts, and again, most of these are oriented toward either making them better at what they do, doing a better job for their clients, or helping them run their business better. So,
yeah,
and then all around, as far as I'm concerned.
That's why we're here. Well, Ken, thanks for being one of our monthly analyst contributors. We'll talk to you next month. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. Stay safe.